Hello, what a great event this is to talk to you all. My name is David. I'm from London, and I'm sorry that we seem to have brought the weather from London here today. I'm just going to move the tables. Hold on 1 second. So tonight I'm going to tell you a little bit about my architecture practice in London and how we do things. So Aberrant Architecture is an award-winning studio of designers, makers, and thinkers. We are a young practice, and we care more about affecting everyday life than building iconic forms. We're interested in working with people and communities. Now that might sound obvious, but this collaborative focus is worth emphasizing because it really is integral to our process. We believe in making an explicit engagement with physical reality, rather than making purely speculative projects. Our projects exist in the real world, even when they are temporary, like this project, which is called the Tiny Traveling Theatre, a concert venue for one person. They are intended to be built and experienced. Our projects try to propose ideas that respond to everyday life and give shape to new ways of living. For us, uniqueness is not a goal, it is an inevitable outcome of our process. And our approach combines research-based design with storytelling. And these stories are used as a design tool to help us address the complex relationships that surround every project. They also create a level of meaning, which supports the project and unfolds through experience. Each of our design projects builds upon a series of interwoven stories or narrative layers. As well as tackling function and program, these layers are deeply informed by the people who live, work, and play in our projects. The layers convey local intelligence about the historic cultural, economic, and social structures, and it is this focus on engaging local context and collaboration which makes each project unique. Through the process of research, design, and production, the new experiences created by our proposals are embedded with meaning, and for those people who use them and encounter them. And hopefully, this gives our projects longevity and value, while creating spontaneous or unexpected opportunities for social encounter. As a way to position our storytelling approach, I'm going to discuss the contents of an exhibition that we designed at the Royal Institute of British Architects in London this year. Creation from Catastrophe looked at the destruction of cities, man-made and natural, and how this destruction allowed people to radically rethink the city itself. Our design for the exhibition carved out natural cork-clad spaces within a smooth, white, artificial surface, displaying a series of modernist proposals and architectural approaches. One of the exhibition's key concepts was the idea of tabula rasa, that is, the top-down conception of the city as a blank canvas. The tabula rasa was intended as a great leveler, removing all the scars and oppressive traces of history. In the 20th century, mass solutions were intended for maximum efficiency, where form follows function. However, they usually gave little value to historic context, and they ignored this idea of local knowledge. On screen, this is a plan for rebuilding London after the Great Fire in 1666. It is one of the earliest proposals for a rational urban grid pattern, not accepted in historic London, but later it was adapted and adopted in many American cities. In fact, many contemporary urban plans are influenced by such ideas. And although these are democratic in their original intentions, they often impose their own kind of elitism, which is alienating for many. So, relying on the expertise of architects and other professionals, these modernist methods often left people out of the process. But as this map from 1871 shows, one city which did adopt a rational approach was Chicago. But if efficiency was once meant to address human need, it now acts in the service of capital, maximum profit from minimum expenditure. Human interests are relatively marginal. Commercial performance rises above social benefit and even need. The architect-client relationship often depends purely on closed systems of engagement, leaving the public outside of the process and disconnected from the results. This creates a sharp divide between the few people or institutions involved in decision-making and the many people with no agency who are left to live with the consequences. In rapidly developing and emerging parts of the world, like China, India, and indeed Brazil, little consideration is given to building an authentic sense of place into new cities that are built. Most will imitate the models they aspire to, especially after the universal spread of style and aesthetics through the internet and other mass media channels. American cities tried to copy European models. In this unbuilt plan for Chicago Civic Center, the civic aspiration was there, but it did not build upon the history, observation, or understanding of the local community. The hardest thing is to build soul and authentic identity into place. Architecture is traditionally thought of as the art of articulating spaces, but we aspire to do more than that. It is really about giving form and opportunity to shape how we want to live our lives, how we write our own stories and those of others. Our design approach is not based on a formula. It is a tailored process, specially retooled for each new project, whether the end result is a project in the public realm or an historic building. This drawing on screen shows a unique process that we designed for the Social Playground, an exhibition in Liverpool. Of course, we couldn't recycle this process anywhere else, and we wouldn't expect the same result. However, we do use certain tools and maneuvers which help us engage people and draw out ingredients from the world around us. We then shape our findings into the unique narrative layers of our stories and designs. So while we don't have any formulas, I want to share with you this evening our key principles, which I will then illustrate through some of our projects. So these are our three key principles on the screen. So number one is about discovering local intelligence. Number two is about engaging people in process. And number three is about encouraging interaction and experience. So let's tackle the first one. Which is discovering local intelligence. So this drawing on screen is taken from a project called the Swansea Fitted Civic Stage in my hometown of Swansea in Wales. We always like to make these narrative storyboards throughout our process as a way to understand our role, synthesize our research, and also, most importantly, to communicate our ideas to a wide audience, not just a professional one. In order to engage with the context of Swansea, we conducted a research residency, physically embedding ourselves on site for 6 months. From here, we conducted a series of conversations with local organizations, artists, users, and passers-by, discussing the conditions of public space in the city. Engaging with local museums, universities, and archives, we found the city's maritime history to be a useful starting point. Through the copper industry, Swansea shared close links with Chile, particularly the city of Valparaiso. Like Valparaiso, Swansea Town Centre was once a site of busy, cosmopolitan street activity, but this quality has been lost. The Swansea Fitted Civic Stage gave us an opportunity to revive this forgotten history in a more contemporary context. We conducted a survey of the city, finding that retail and commercial opportunities were far more common than cultural and civic activities. In response, we produced the Civic Stage, shown on screen, which draws heavily from the area's history as a centre for international trade. The bright blue facade is formed from building fragments that were transplanted from Valparaiso's townscape and which reflected the building's shipbuilding heritage. The Civic Stage acts as a flexible platform consisting of 3 interconnected sections which users can adapt for an endless variety of public programs. The stage opens up to the green, inviting activities and events, including musical performances, fashion shows, as well as other unexpected inhabitations. The stage becomes a new way of displaying local talent, enterprise, and culture. The second point that I'm going to talk about is about engaging people in process. To illustrate how we engage people, I want to show you the social playground, a giant interactive landscape at Fact Gallery in Liverpool, built in collaboration with local community groups. The playground is based around the British game of egg rolling, an Easter tradition where children roll boiled eggs down local hills and slopes. The project invited visitors of all ages to race wooden eggs around 7 structures. Each structure represents an aspect of the gallery's relationship to the city. Workshops, games, and other participatory opportunities were devised with various groups, from school children to the elderly, as well as engaging the passing public. These exchanges helped identify their main concerns, generating a collaboratively designed structure in response. The exhibition gave a voice to the schools, young people, and community programs, really rethinking what the 21st Century Arts Centre could mean for community cohesion, civic engagement, and lifelong learning. We believe that we can build awareness, empowerment, and citizen agency into and beyond every given project. Yet in each particular context, this really takes time. Participatory methods are not always possible, especially with large-scale projects. And as with contemporary forms of democracy, there are obvious limitations to the promise of representation in urbanism and architecture. This is all worth remembering when considering the diversity of audience, users, and practitioners, how to ensure that all voices are appropriately represented. Here, the social playground exhibition challenged normal gallery behavior. The whole installation became a game to be played, which was very inviting for children, and especially for people who had never visited the gallery before and were kind of a bit afraid of going to museums. A closer look would reveal the layers of formal and contextual references and content embedded in the physical structure themselves. The third point is about encouraging interaction and experience. All of our projects are geared towards encouraging specific users and the general public to interact, to inhabit, and dwell in the city in ways that challenge existing or prescribed behaviors. Through use and experience, people should be able to add to the story of the project, to the place, or to the city. For example, the civic stage aims to disrupt the public realm as a purely functional or consumer space, providing opportunities for conviviality, spontaneous activity, and social interaction. Based on our engagement and on our research, we attempt to imagine and script suggested patterns of use for our projects, and these help to define physical, functional, and material decisions. But these imagined uses are truly tested when the architecture performs in reality, ideally provoking and enabling activities which restore meaning and identity to place. Best of all, inhabitants and audiences often script new stories, new uses, and unexpected occupations. And this is how we know when our projects have truly engaged their communities, when they take on a life of their own. Another example, the roaming street market, worked with local retailers within the Waterloo Business Improvement District. On the left, our eye-catching market stall enabled the restaging of a local tradition, fortune-telling, which used to be common in the historic market. However, there were many other uses and demands for the stall which we could have not predicted. Here on the right, it was transformed into the world's smallest restaurant, a mobile public dining experience with a kitchen on the roof. Through research, process, and interaction, then, our projects intend to propose new ways of living. In this project, which is the last that I will share with you today, we tried to reimagine the space of the school. What could a school be today? We were invited to refurbish the interior of Rosemary Works, a small school in East London. This actually tied into a research project which we've been pursuing right here in Rio. Since 2012, we've been researching the CIEPI schools, a radical and innovative scheme designed by Oscar Niemeyer and Darcy Hubero, on which we've just produced this Beautiful book, small little plug, which is going to be launched in Rio early next year. Anyway, in the CIEPI model, the school functioned as a fulcrum for the wider community. As well as a space for children's education, we recognize the shared interest in the CIEPs of encouraging diverse social interactions, which have been illustrated in one of our storyboards on the screen. At Rosemary Works, we worked in collaboration with the school's directors, teachers, parents, and maybe the most important people in the school, the children. Through a series of workshops, we discovered the unique needs, wants, and resources of the school community. And this was not just a gesture to include all voices, but genuinely it provided design intelligence, such as the need for child-scale spaces. The children definitely expressed a desire for control and ownership of their learning environment, and we responded to this directly in our design proposals. At the same time, the school's heritage provided some clues, as we discovered the building's history and original late Edwardian design principles, like the deliberate use of bold color combinations or the division of wall surfaces for different purposes. In our contemporary design, the lower sections are designed specifically for the children to interact with, while the middle sections cater for the teacher's needs. Walls can be used as chalkboards, and even there's some magnetic walls for the children to use. Responding to the school's location on the Regent's Canal, a fleet of child-sized canal boats can be moved around the school, supporting different learning and play activities. The subsequent design concept pursues a policy of blending, borrowing features from the building's past that are appropriate for the school's present-day needs. But it's also about understanding the potentials of long and short-term engagement. At Rosemary Works School, we have helped parents, pupils, and teachers to develop an ongoing strategy in which the spatial programs will be reinterpreted and replicated over time. For example, in the second phase of the project, our design created a series of customizable, adaptable, and intimate spaces using a series of sculptural rails, customizable lighting, and acoustic curtains. The space can be transformed to accommodate varied activities, from a large dining hall to cozy interiors for after-school clubs. So in conclusion, our form of practice focuses on building opportunities and relationships with local communities, finding a people-centered approach and involving imaginative ways of achieving participation. Maintaining the city as a place for the promotion of human experiences remains at the heart of our practice. Unique designs are an inevitable result of deep engagement with each project, even if some of our core principles are shared across several works. We strongly believe that growth is measured not only in terms of economics, but also in terms of wellness, quality of life, and human interaction. The ways to achieve these ideals are various and must be learned through the unique processes of each project. That's it. I hope you've enjoyed learning about our approach as much as I've enjoyed sharing them with you. Thank you very much.